What's up, guys? Welcome to Chimmy Comics, and you are watching Novel Nook. In this segment, we're going to be covering Halo First Strike by Eric Nylund. This is Nylund's second installment, and Wyatt has roped me into doing the whole Nylund trilogy, and it's been a good ride so far, including this one. I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
It's kind of a... Honestly, out of all three of them, I really can't say what's my favorite because Fall of Reach has the best naval stuff, which I love.
Yeah.
And then this one has just awesome Spartan action.
All the Spartan stuff, yeah.
Yeah. And then Ghost of Onyx also has really cool Spartan stuff, but it also has the Nova bomb and all of that stuff. And it's really cool.
You know what? This book makes me hate the fact that we never really got that game where you would get to work with the blue team, you know?
Yeah.
Like you get some of it in 5, I think, or whatever, but like...
Yeah, you get 3 missions.
Yeah.
But they don't really show any of the camaraderie or anything like that.
But it makes me think, like, why didn't we get any of this in the first games, you know? Like, why was that not a thing?
I don't know. Bungie really pushed games first. Like, they didn't want to include any of the EU in the games, and they wanted the games to be chief among everything. That's why Halo Reach is so different from Fall of Reach.
Yeah.
And I think that was a stupid decision. 343 tried to rectify it. They added stuff from the Forerunner trilogy, which that's not really stuff you should add. I think a game set, because that's just too deep. Like, that's too far back for the casual gamer who's playing. Like, there in Halo 4, there was like a 12-minute cutscene of the librarian talking to you about all this shit, and like I had
need to go back and play that because I don't remember a lot of it.
I don't either. I hadn't read any of the Forerunner trilogies. I saw that. I was like, I know a little bit about this, but I mean, come on. This is a bit too much even for me.
Come on. Jeez.
But I mean, yeah, if we saw a game like before Reach, like in the 2530s or 40s, and you don't even have shields like Halo 3 ODS, it's like going on missions with all the other Spartans, that would be awesome. They should do a story pack DLC for Halo Infinite.
That mission where Chief goes to kidnap that guy from the pirates.
Yes, the insurrectionist.
That would be cool.
Did you know that the insurrectionist base in this book was the same one?
Yeah, they said that.
Yeah, you got that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, I guess we can just give a quick rundown of, like, what all this book covers.
Yeah, okay. So this book happens immediately after Halo 1 and the last Halo book we did, which wasn't written by Nylund, Halo the Flood. Yep. It basically picks up right after that with Chief. But the first part of this book is actually the end of the Fall of Reach, just from a different Spartan's perspective. We see the perspective of Fred 104 and his mission to the ground of Reach. While in Fall of Reach, we followed Master Chief go into like an orbital station to destroy some nav data. Yeah. This one, we see the rest of the Spartans go to ground and defend the generators that are powering the huge Mac guns in orbit. And from the get-go, it goes to shit.
Yeah.
Fred was eager.
I really liked the Reach stuff in here. At the beginning, there wasn't a lot. There was like a couple of short sections to it, and then once the story converges between Chief and the rest of the team, that's when you get more of it. But I thought this was a really fun story. You get more of the like how Chief is like a commander, you know, like he commands a team of Spartans. You don't really get that a lot in the games.
In the games, In the games, your team leadership is taking all the good weapons from the Marines and leaving them with a plasma pistol.
Exactly. Hey, you get in that gunner seat.
Yeah. You give them a good weapon so they have unlimited ammo, and put them into the side seat of the Warthog, so your Warthog can dunk on tanks, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's the tactic I always used.
And you also get a lot of emotions from Chief, like just how he cares so much about his team, and how like each Spartan death impacts him greatly. And he even, like, he doesn't say it out loud, but he thinks it to himself that he hates how all Spartans are, like, they're marked as missing in action. They're never marked as dead because of the whole
propaganda.
Propaganda, yeah. But he's like, they never really get a final rest, and he hates that for his team.
Yeah, he hated it a lot in Fall of Reach when they all got augmented, and half of them died from that.
Yeah.
And that was like the first time he ever lost men in combat.
I remember
Unfortunately, it would not be the last.
I remember seeing, his name starts with an F.
Fajad.
Yeah. He died from augmentation, right? Or he was paralyzed?
He was paralyzed, and we see where he went. He works for ONI, the Office of Naval Intelligence. He wrote the slip space theoretical physics paper that Keyes used to determine that the slip space rupture was actually a bunch of Covenant ships coming to Sigma Octantis. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Because the Spartans, they're not just really good fighters, but they also are pretty much they have a master's degree in pretty much everything. Yeah. So all the ones who were paralyzed and can't fight, ONI took over, and they then did like science research and ops planning, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, overall, I guess I would like to give this book like a 8.5/9. I thought the action was really good, and it told a good story, and I love any time that we can flesh out the Chief even more, because you don't get a lot of insight into what the Chief is thinking in the games. But yeah, I blew through this, the most of it in like 3 or 4 days, and just kind of finished it up a couple of days later. But I've never read a novel this quickly, and it was really fun.
Yeah, you can really get into Nylund. Yeah. And honestly, since this is a Nylund Halo book, I'm going to give it a 10. All of them get a 10 for me. They're all just so good. Yeah. Well, like I said, I can't say which one's my favorite because all of them are equally as good to me. So everyone gets a 10. So next time we do Ghost of Onyx, I'm giving it a 10.
Yeah. Also, like later on in the book, they finally show the brutes for the first time. Mm-hmm. The brutes in this book are way more powerful than they are in the games.
Yeah, because in the game sandbox, you can shoot your weapon and melee.
Hit him in the face.
In real life, you're going to be grappling and hand-to-hand fighting.
That's not how combat works.
Yeah. Chief, I'm pretty sure he's getting choked out at one point.
He almost blacked out, yeah.
Yeah. And just think of how
he used some kind of shrimping move to get out or something.
Which is it's something like where you flail around and throw your weight around.
Pretty much, yeah.
Riley, you should know that. You wrestled.
I wrestled. I didn't take MMA.
Yeah, Riley's like, I wrestled. I didn't fight no giant Jurahani.
But like, they were just talking about how much faster they were than elites and stuff, and I was like, "That's really cool, but that's not what we got." I always liked seeing brutes better than elites because they don't have shields and they're easy to kill.
Yeah, the elites are on par with Spartans physically. Yeah, they're held back by their sense of honor, and most of them aren't as skilled because just the Spartans have just been trained to fight dirty and stuff. So
yeah,
it's interesting because in Halo Reach, when you play as a Spartan 3, physically the elites in the game are actually tougher than you are. Like they have stronger shields and more health, and they do more damage in melee. So that's what you really have to watch out for when you're playing the game, and I think they showed that really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this, brutes are tough.
Yeah.
And one of them, one of his team, one of the Spartans gets killed during that fight.
Yeah, Grace.
Mm-hmm. And they have to blow up the fusion power supply in her armor to keep it from being captured.
Yeah. But she took down like a dozen grunts and 4 elites or something, they said.
Yeah, with that blast.
Her. So, yeah. That was okay. Sad.
Yeah, it was. Rip Grace, 043. Is that her number? I think that's her number.
Grace, I don't know, dude.
I know most of their numbers, I think.
Do you know Kelly's number?
87.
Oh, you're right.
Linda is 058, Fred 104. And I can't remember Will.
Which one was the one that liked to joke a lot? Was that Will?
That may have been Will.
I think it was.
But okay, you want to go ahead and get into the plot?
Yeah, we can kind of brush through the plot.
Juicy plot.
We don't have to get like really in depth about it, but yeah, like we said before, it just opens up with the Reach stuff with Red Team.
It's the same as the last arc of Halo: The Fall of Reach, but I mean, the point of view is from Fred, and he's just sitting here twirling a combat knife, just being all cool. And Master Chief is talking to Keyes, and Keyes was like, "I need to talk to you in privately." And Master Chief was like, "I'm gonna have to get onto another deck because the Spartan hearing is so good, they'll be able to hear it you say." And Keyes is like, "All right, whatever. I trust him." So he gives the briefing, and Fred is like, he hears the missions. Most of them are going to be going to the ground, and Fred would rather be on the ground because he knows trying to fight in 0G in orbit is going to be tougher, and he instantly wants to volunteer to lead the mission. But Kelly, since she's the fastest Spartan, jumps in first and asks. But Master Chief cucks them both and is like, "Nope, I'm going to be leading that one."
So he thought he was doing them a favor, but it turns out that he really kind of wasn't.
Yeah. So the next chapter, we see Fred and like 20 Spartan 2s all loaded onto a Pelican. And they're going down. And
this
there's
part
the whole...
I would love to see in a movie.
Yes, this would be awesome. This would be one of the best scenes in cinema history. Because it's the full Battle of Reach going down. There's Seraph fighters, human fighters, ships of all types blasting away at each other. They go past one of the giant orbital guns and see it. It's described firing, which is really cool. And they're outnumbered. Like, they get some escorts, but 3 of them peel off to go engage other fighters, and the last one ends up facing like 12 all by herself, so she dies. And their Pelican takes a hit, and that kills the pilot. And they reroute control to the crew compartment, but Fred's pretty much like, "Okay, yeah, we're not going to be able to land this, so aim for the trees." It's like that scene from The Other Guys. You think of what I'm thinking? Aim for the bush.
God. I think they did a little bit better than that. Just a little.
Yeah, because there were actually trees where they landed. Because I love they say that in that movie, but then it shows where they jump and there's no bush.
But like they're jumping, no shoot, going God knows how fast.
Yeah. I think this outbeat Master Chief's fall at the end of Halo 2, beginning of Halo 3.
Yeah. But like some of them don't make it. Like what was it? Like only 12 of them lived or something like that.
Mm,
And well, I know a lot of them were hurt, like 6 of them or something. But
yeah, they separated into a. Hold on, I've got it right here.
And like Fred, the team leader.
4 of them were KIA.
Okay.
Yeah, so 4 of them died, and most of them are wounded, and a lot of their armor is damaged.
Yeah. And Fred took a pretty bad hit. Like, he's the leader, and he was like, you know, kind of he blacked out, but then when he came back, Kelly was helping him up, and like he was trying not to show anything because he wanted to like be a strong leader and help his team, but he felt really bad about like the whole situation, everybody, all those people dying. But
they showed the Pelican like crashes into a mountain, so I mean, you know, there was nothing better he could have done than order him to jump. But yeah, they make it to the generators, and there's supposed to be Marines and armor and a whole bunch of other forces there protect. They see the whole field is glassed pretty much, and there's a whole bunch of dead Marines, dead Covenant, and there's only like a single squad left. And it turns out some admiral got scared and called in a broken arrow airstrike, and their own airstrike took out most of the UNSC forces there.
Yeah.
So now it's just a handful of Spartan 2s. All of them are walking wounded, and a squad of Marines. Yeah. And Fred organizes his team based on most effective. Like one team, the green team, I think, was the one made of the most wounded.
Well, they did like letters, so it was like Gamma and.
Oh yeah, it was Gamma teams.
But he sent the wounded to the rendezvous point, which is like the base, right?
I think he sent the wounded to rescue Admiral Whitecomb, I believe.
No, he sent the bulk of the team to do that.
Oh, he did?
Like the good part of the team.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Then him, Kelly, and I can't remember the third one.
Joshua?
Maybe, I don't remember. Yeah, it was, yeah.
It was Joshua.
They went to, like, you know, I guess recon and see what was going on with the Covenant, because they saw, you know, a grouping of them away from Whitcomb and stuff. They eventually get 3 Banshees, and they're flying around, and Joshua gets shot down.
Yeah, and they have a nuke, but the thing is that the EMP from the nuke will burn out the generators, and once the generators go, the guns in orbit can't fire, and if those go, the battle's over. So they can't use them, but then Fred is like, actually, we can. Because he sees they go to where they see the Covenant. There's a huge Covenant like troop ship hovering there, and if they get the nuke aboard that ship, its shields will be able to hold back the EMP to keep it from affecting the generators. And they do that. Like, they fly in, and I think Kelly's the one who does it. She gets on top of her Banshee and like surfs it, and then punts this nuke like a football into the grav well that like lowers and brings troops from the surface to the ship. And the nuke goes off, and they pretty much obliterate an entire Covenant landing force with that. But then immediately after, a whole bunch of Covenant ships just use slip space to appear right there. And they're outnumbered, and there's nothing they can really do. So Fred orders everyone to try and fall back. And I think that's where they end off at this point, and we go to the Master Chief.
We can just continue with this one storyline if you want. Like, get it up to where they meet Chief.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. So they go, all the different teams are like wondering what to do and everything. They're trying to rendezvous. Joshua got shot down, so he's gone. So Fred just has Kelly. And does he link up with anyone else before they get to Castle, or is it just him and her?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's just him and her, and they realize that the guns at this point are gone, and most of the UNSC fleet is destroyed. Like there's nothing standing in orbit. But the Covenant start glassing the planet, but they realize that the section they're on isn't being glassed, and they steal a couple.
They steal some wraiths. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
So they steal these wraiths and use it to blow up a bunch of Covenant mining equipment and whatnot. Yeah. And they arrive at the door to Castle Base, which is one of ONI's, the Office of Naval Intelligence's main bases on the planet. And they get to the door, and they're like, "Hey, want to open the door?" Do they use the Spartan sign, the Ollie Ollie Oxen Free?
They I think they link up with like Will.
Yeah, they link
Isaac
up with the wounded, don't they?
No, they're with the what do you call it? The team that defended the generator.
Charlie Company. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they go to the rendezvous point, which is Castle Base. And that's where the wounded are. They're waiting there. They're kind of holed up, waiting for the enemy to come. And then they let them in.
Yeah, and there's no other UNSC forces inside except for Dr. Catherine Halsey.
Yes.
The mother of the Spartans, but only like figuratively.
So, let's see. I think there's only like 5 Spartans at this point.
Yeah, it's except for the ones with Whitecom.
Oh, yeah. But we don't know about them at this point.
Yeah. No, we don't. At this point, it's just Fred, Will, Isaac, Kelly, and is that it?
And then. Yeah, there's Vin.
Vin?
Yeah.
That's his name?
Vin. V-I-N-H.
Oh, Vim. Okay.
Vin.
Hey, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And, oh, yeah. Love me, Vin.
But, like, Halsey is, like, patching them up because they're really beat up. And
Kelly, I think, had the most wounds, didn't she? And it was she goes over all
throughout this whole book.
Yeah.
Every time.
She's got like a collapsed lung and shit like that. And Halsey's just like, how are you all standing? So since Halsey is the smartest human alive, and she's a really good doctor, she patches them up. She gets some cloned organs. She's able to do surgery in the future.
Half a lung for Kelly.
Yeah. Half a lung for Kelly. And this is really cool how they introduce some of the newer weapons, like because this is an Oni base, they have all the prototype toys and stuff. So Fred and Will, I believe, go to the armory and they get battle rifles and magnums, which are already 12.7 millimeter hand cannons, but like with even a bigger bullet than that. And they get those.
I remember when Halsey was looking them all over, she's like, all right, Fred, you've got, what did she say, collapsed kidneys or something?
Yeah, contusions.
And 3 cracked ribs and something else. And she's like, all right, you're fine. Go get the weapons.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, compared to the rest.
Yeah, they come back with those new weapons, and then Castle Base is taking some good fire from Covenant. They're digging, trying to get down to them.
Yeah, and Halsey
collapses.
Yeah, Halsey was in her office at the time, and what's funny about Halsey is she has like one of those projectors that projects like stars onto the ceiling, and her office is in a complete mess. Like, there's a whole bunch of half-finished cups of coffee around, and she's like, which one's the youngest here? And, okay, this'll do. And, like, downs one, and it's just like, ew, you really live like this. But she has an AI there named Kalmaya, and Kalmaya is pretty much the predecessor to Cortana. She's Cortana's older sister, pretty much. She was like the prototypes, and she has all of the infiltration software that Cortana has. And they discover that there's another AI in the system, and this is from that asshole Colonel Ackerson. It's his AI. And they discover that it has stolen a bunch of information about the Spartan program, sent it. It's called Onyx, and there's a Lieutenant Ambrose there doing stuff, and that'll be discovered in the next book. But this is just like Nylund, just give it its little tease. You know. And so the base collapses. The Spartans rescue Halsey from the collapse because it was mostly in her office, so they like dig her out. And then they have to keep running, but they can't go outside because there's a huge Covenant army there. So
and before it collapsed, Halsey was able to recover from those files a real blueprint of the base, which reveals more of it than she thought there was. And so that's how they go down farther into the base.
Yeah, because the base originally it was like titanium mines, and Oni built on top of that. But the miners, the reason they built on top of that was because the miners discovered existing caves and stuff that were not a natural formation.
Yeah.
You get that? You get that? So they're going to run that way, and they do. And they end up like they're going to stay down there a couple weeks. But, they have supplies and stuff that they all grabbed from Castle Base before they did it. They're in the dark. They actually fight some cloaked elites. And that was really cool because Kelly had a thing of powder, like baby powder or something. And
there's
she got
talcum powder down there. And she kicked it into the hallway and
they shot it and or whatever and spread it around, and it covered all the elites so they could see him. And I was like, that is really cool.
That was cool.
That's why I love reading about Spartan action, because they're not just going to come at you with bullets and whatever martial arts they know. They're very innovative.
They're like a Spec Ops team going against a Revolutionary War army,
Yeah, pretty much.
That's like how it's structured.
Each one of them is Batman, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about that later. I'm gonna bring up an old conversation we used to have quite a lot. But they continue on. They get into these tunnels that are not a natural formation at all. And I think that's when we leave off with Halsey, Fred, and this group of Spartans. And
they make it to the cave.
Yeah, they make it to the cave
for like a couple days at least, or something. And
I think it was a couple weeks.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Fred's walking around with only one gauntlet on because Halsey's working on it, and he's running his bare hand along the walls. And one of the walls kind of pricks his finger, and he's like, "What just happened?" And then the wall starts glowing, and then it opens up a new corridor right there. And he's like, "Hey guys, I found something." And Halsey's like, "Yep, that's it. That's what we needed."
Good thing I made you walk around without a gauntlet on.
Good thing, yeah. And they go down there, and when they get there, there's a room that's like 3 kilometers in diameter or something crazy. Yep. And there's this big glowing blue light in the center. And they start walking down there, and everything's kind of distorted. Reality doesn't look how it's supposed to. And they're trying to walk in a straight line, and they end up spreading out. They're like, "All right, Kelly, you take point. You have a good sense of direction, and we're all going to close our eyes and follow you."
Yeah, pretty much.
They go in a conga line.
Yeah. I think they tell Kelly to pick a direction is what they do.
They're like, just go that way.
Yeah.
And they make it to that glowing thing in the middle, and Halsey grabs it, and it's like this little slim crystal. And apparently that's the holy light that the Covenant have been searching for. That's why they're digging into Castle Base.
Yep.
So they get that, and here come the Covenant. They bust a hole in the ceiling to get down to them, and they go down there, but they're not like shooting at them because they don't want to destroy that crystal. So the Spartans have an advantage there, and I think they managed to get out of there.
They get into a side passage that they're able to hold up in.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's where we leave them.
Okay.
And before we get into Master Chief, there's a little section where a officer that commands a stealth ship, a prowler, he's reporting to like the UNSC Security Council, which is like all the top generals, admirals, and everything. And Colonel Ackerson is there, and he seems to be very thrilled that Reach is gone and all the Spartans.
I know,
yeah. Yeah, and the dude is he's wanting to know if the Pillar of Autumn got destroyed, and or if there's any possibility that they survived. And the Prowler captain is like, well, all I know is that they were glassing from the poles, which isn't normally what they do, and the Pillar of Autumn was able to jump away. And Gacker's like, they are dead. And he's just being such an ass. And I think Admiral Hood calls him out at one point because he talked back to a general and he's just a colonel, and Hood is like, I will fucking massacre you.
Oh man. Yeah, you want to talk about the Chief stuff now?
Yep. So Chief, this is right after the ending of Halo 1 where he takes off his helmet only to be revealed he's wearing another helmet. So he's just sitting there and Cortana's like, there's only dust and echoes. Oh, holy crap, there's a ship out here, UNSC ship. Let's go find it. Yeah. And they do, but then Covenant ships start all appearing, and they're only in a single longsword fighter, and they're going against cruisers and carriers and like a full Covenant fleet. And they need to rendezvous with the Pelican, and the Pelican gets spotted. And before they do this, they pull in some cryopods that were floating out there from the Pillar of Autumn that may still have some crew members alive. So they get those. And so the Pelican's about to get blasted. And Chief has the Cortana time a rocket or a missile good enough to where it will hit exactly at the moment the Covenant ship fires, because the Covenant have to lower their shields in order to fire the weapon. So they manage to hit a plasma turret, and that causes a whole bunch of damage. It's like a chain reaction, and that buys them enough time for them to them and the Pelican to kind of go into like a slingshot orbit, so they'll be able to have a little breather. And so they meet the crew of this Pelican, and Master Chief like reaches down because they're like docked to the longsword on top of the Pelican. He reaches down and pulls the dude up, and he's like, "Holy crap!" and like pulls the gun to him.
I saw you die.
Yeah, he's like, it's Sergeant Johnson. He's like, it takes more than a walking alien freak to kill Avery J. Johnson. He says something like that, and so Cortana's like, my scatter show he's good, Chief, so you can let the sergeant go. And he's like, only officer, and Master Chief is going to be taking tactical command because Haverson knows about Operation Red Flag, and Chief is like, we're going to do that. And Haverson is like, bro, okay. So they get this crazy balls to the wall plan to steal a Covenant ship, and it's 3 kilometers long, and probably I don't think they know how many enemies are aboard, but they could do it. Yeah. Actually, I think maybe Cortana does hack the BattleNet and finds out that this ship, the Ascendant Justice, only has like 100 elites, and or maybe just
Yeah, it was very engineer heavy. It wasn't like a fighter ship.
Yeah, there's not many. There's only a lot of grunts and only about 100 elites, or maybe the other way around. Maybe there's only like 100 grunts and like 20 or so elites. I can't remember. But anyway, they decide to take that one, and Cortana is using a bunch of electronic countermeasures and hacking to disrupt the Covenant's targeting, and they ditch the Pelican and they use it as like a fire ship, I think, like to block enemy fire. And Pulaski takes the helm of the longsword, and she does this insane air maneuver where she like drifts into the hangar, and they skid along the floor. And
she goes in to the bay, you know. She goes in so fast and then just hits the forward thrusters when she turns around, and like it's like she's backing in, but she's like gassing it so they don't fall backwards so fast.
Yeah.
They still crash.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she roasts a bunch of grunts with the exhaust on the way in. Yeah. So they drop the ramp, and Locklear is immediately like, "Whoa, let's go!" And he like jumps out and starts a bunch of grunts or whatever. And so they're ready to go. They're ready to do this. And they keep moving.
They take the ship.
Yeah, they take the ship, and they have to. They get to the bridge, and here Master Chief fights an elite that's just as good as he is. And the big difference is that this elite hasn't been fighting for days nonstop on Halo, so Chief is pretty tired, understandably so at the moment. But he doesn't. I don't. Able to kill the elite, but he like puts him into an escape pod and blasts him away.
I don't remember that part.
I think he did. He either did that or he killed him. Like it was a cool fight scene though. And I think a part of the fighting, his like armor malfunctions, like his shields aren't working. And he has to go down to like the reactor level or whatever and turn on the subspace drive or something because the crew has kind of sabotaged it, and he does, and they're able to escape from the system. They're able to jump away, and one of the engineers are a race of they were made by the Forerunners, and the Covenant kind of found them, and now they're using them. They're pretty much living sentient computers, and they can take apart anything and understand it, and they're called engineers by humans for good reason. They're just really good at mechanical stuff, and he's able to fix Master Chief's shield system, but immediately after Haverson shoots it, and Cortana's like, "Lieutenant, what the hell?" And he's like, "Well, it got a peek at our shield systems, and we can't risk it getting captured by the Covenant. I know it's grisly, but I mean, it's protocol." And Master Chief's like, "Yeah, you're right."
Yeah, that was sad.
Yeah. R.I.P. that one engineer who helped Chief.
It's kind of like when they buried Dobby on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay. But they then they head to Reach. And,
because Lieutenant Haverson is like, "Okay, Master Chief, I know you want to do Operation Red Flag, but we're only a pilot, an ODST, Sergeant Johnson, me, and you. That's 5 of us. We're not 20 Spartans. We're not trained for this type of mission. So I'm sorry, but it's gonna have to be scrubbed. I'm taking back command." And they have a conundrum, though, with this. Since they're in a Covenant ship, they can't take it back to human space without it being vetted for tracking systems and everything. They'll violate Cole Protocol. And they need to go someplace where they may be able to leave it and find a UNSC ship, like one that was damaged in a battle, that they'll be able to take to UNSC space and in order to return for the ship because of all the technology aboard and whatnot. Master Chief is like, "Well, let's go to Reach. I mean, there's a huge battle there. The Covenant might not even be there, but there's definitely going to be a bunch of UNSC ships left there. I mean, it was our primary shipyard.
Yep.
And Haverson's like, okay, but he knows that the reason Master Chief wants to go to Reach is to see if any of the Spartans are left.
Yeah. Well, then he gets a signal when they get there.
Ollie, oxen free. And then I think we get a flashback to show the Spartans during training. And I love this part. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're playing another game against these. Well, are they Marines or are they just Oni or something?
They're Marines. They're a company of Marines.
But they're just like 12 at the time.
Yeah.
So they hate these kids.
Yeah, because these are like fully trained veteran Marines, and they're getting their asses handed to them by a bunch of kids. So they're pissed off.
And so they're planning an ambush on their base, and like Chief sends in, like he and a team go in to infiltrate, and they set up.
They stole a bunch of mirrors somehow, and polished them, and they did use those to like get underneath the company's trucks. Yeah. So they used the mirrors so they sweeped a mirror under. They would just see the underside of the truck and not the Spartans there. And they stole some sniper rifles, and the Marines are using like lethal rounds. And the Spartans only have these like dart guns. They like shoot tranquilizer darts, and they take sniper rifle ammo and replace the bullet with these narc darts, so they're able to shoot and dart people from like a kilometer away or whatever. And they give it to Linda, so she's sniper cover. They use battery acid that they got from trucks again to soak through like the plywood, the Marines barracks floor, and they put a bunch of flashbangs there. So when those go off, it sends a bunch of wooden shrapnel and stuff into the barracks. And then to keep the dogs from smelling them, they fed them a bunch of like rotten squirrel meat and stuff to make the dogs sick. And they do all this crazy stuff, and they're able to get the flag, because I'm pretty sure it's capture the flag or whatever. Yeah. And they get to the extraction point, and they don't trust the people picking them up. I think they take them down again, don't they?
Yeah, a pelican shows up, and they're all hidden in the woods, and Master Chief's like, all right, I'm gonna go see what's going on here. So he like crawls away from his team and then stands up and walks to them. And the guys out there, like, they're about to kill Chief. Like, they're straight up just going to shoot him. And I think Linda snipes them.
Yeah.
With the darts. So, and then he like goes to the pelican and grabs something. I don't remember what he grabbed, but they continue on, because like the Pelican showed up way early, and they said, Chief Mendez is never this early.
Yeah.
So they knew something was off.
And then they do their whistle, which is Ollie oxen free, which is their own code for all clear. And that's the signal they get on Reach all these years later. And you think it's going to be Halsey and everyone, but they take a drop ship from the Ascendant Justice, which is their own ship, and they're able to like pass off as a Covenant ship, so no one really bothers them. Mm-hmm. And they go and find out that it's from Admiral Whitecomb, and he's been running a resistance movement with surviving Spartans for the past however long it's been, 4 weeks or so. And he tells them his plan was to slip the Nova bomb into Covenant supplies, so hopefully they'll take it back to their home planet, or it'll blow up Reach and take away their entire army here and whatever they're looking for. And he's like, what's the fuse on that? And he's like, 24 hours. And they're like, okay, let's go ahead and do this then. But I mean, that's only a possibility. They may have taken it home. They don't know. But I mean, he set the fuse for it to be going off pretty soon.
So we never figured out like what happened to that bomb.
Next book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. One of the best moments in Halo ever. I love Admiral Whitecomb has 2 of the best moments in Halo ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But so they all get together and they headed to the castle base.
Right? Yeah, they're gonna go into the huge cavern that's all reality screwy, and they take the dropship through the hole that the Covenant were using, and they link up with Dr. Halsey and the rest of the Spartans, and they're all like, "Holy crap, you guys are alive!" And they look around, and they're literally surrounded on all sides and all like depth, like there's alcoves above filled with Covenant, and they're like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, and like I remember one of the hunters fires at them because he's tired of waiting. They're just standing there, and he fires at the Spartans, and they're like the whole army of the Covenant fire on that one hunter.
Yeah,
and kill him.
Exactly. Yeah, because and probably a bunch of grunts standing near him.
Yeah, and one of the like head elite guy was like, "If anyone else would like to betray the Covenant."
Yeah, like it translates in Chief's helmet. He's like, "Do not fire upon the holy light. We'll give unto him what we gave tenfold."
But then because they won't like fire on them, they're able to exfil pretty easily for the most part. So they get out of there, and meanwhile Cortana has been busy on the Ascendant Justice. She has been like, I think she's like looking around for another ship because they don't have like enough power to make a slip space jump. Doesn't she get into a fight with some of the Covenant ships and gets damaged really bad?
Yeah, she does. She finds out that she can fire their plasma turrets a lot faster. Yeah. And she's able to get a bunch of kills, but there's just too many Covenant, and they are able to damage the Ascendant Justice. But before they get out, she has docked with a UNSC frigate, the UNSC Gettysburg, which I think, if you remember in the Fall of Reach, that one ship that could snipe from like really far away and just slice ships in half. I'm pretty sure that's what took out the Gettysburg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it's in good enough shape for her to think that they can use it to get back to Earth and UNSC space.
Yeah. But she like marries the two and makes a hybrid ship.
Yep. From now on, it's called the Ascendant Gettysburg.
And so she comes back and like she's able to time the jump, and she's only jumping like, what was it, 700,000 kilometers or something. It's a really short jump for slip space, and she gets there just in the nick of time to get Chief and his crew, and then they get the heck out of there.
Yeah. And I mean, they still can't go back to human space, so they go to another planet where they think there will be a presence there that it's in range of their subspace because they need repairs pretty much. And they go to Eridanus 2, which is actually John's home planet that's been glassed, and they return to the Eridanus Secundus asteroid from Fall of Reach, which is an insurrectionist base. And
but before they get there, when they make a slip space jump with this crystal, it gets.
I forgot this.
It does like some crazy stuff to slip space. Like everything around it is like there but not there.
Yeah, it's blue, and slip space doesn't have any visual frame to it, and slip space is usually just your ship and you're there.
Yeah.
And
all these Covenant ships around them were in there too.
Yeah, it creates like a bubble.
Yeah,
pretty much a localized bubble, and the Covenant ships are shooting at them, but because of this crystal, the plasma, like it's not accurate at all. So
yeah, but the plasma doesn't just go away; it goes all around this thing, and eventually starts tearing up all the ships.
Yeah, and Admiral Whitecomb, I think he takes command and proves that he, just like every other named UNSC naval officer in any of these books, is a freaking tactical genius. And he like rams into one ship and like then does a maneuver to like throw it behind him, doesn't he?
I think that was later.
It's
I don't
later?
think that was this part. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sure? I thought he did.
That was a normal space.
I thought it was here.
But like what they equated it to was like a raging sea. Because like the plasma and the slip space, it was all damaging the ships. All of them. And they were like, we need to get out of here. So they're like...
Yeah, and they have to make a repair on the outer hull.
Yeah.
And Pulaski gets onto the dropship again and is going to drop the Spartans off to do this.
Yep.
And she gets killed from this. Like, I think she gets hit by plasma. And she was forming a romance with Corporal Locklear.
I know.
So it's super sad. Locklear lost his waifu.
But Chief and his team, they make the repair, and the last thing you see is like they're all like tethered to the ship, and they just black out.
Yeah, they're not able to get back inside before they finish the jump or whatever.
Yeah. But then Chief wakes up on the operating table, and I think either one or two of his Spartans got killed by a plasma blast. Kelly was injured really bad, and I think that's it. But then they're like, "Hey, Chief, we found something in this cryopod."
Remember those cryopods that he picked up at the very beginning?
Linda's in one of them.
Yep. So the Spartans just got like 100 badass points by opening this up, because Linda is one of the most deadly beings in the galaxy because of her insane ability with accurate sniper fire.
Because of how this book describes her shots and stuff, I don't think she's using the sniper rifle that we use on the game. I think it's different.
I think she could do it with any sniper rifle. I think she gives Deadshot a run for his money.
But like, it's like Chief was looking for her, and after each shot, and in the game you would know where the shot came from because there's a big bullet trail going through the sky.
That's probably just for balance reasons.
Yeah. But anyway, they unfreeze Linda, and it takes a while, but...
Yeah, and she immediately has to go into surgery, because the reason they froze her and didn't wake her up like they woke up Chief in Halo 1... No.
It's like Nora Freeze. That's why she froze her.
Oh, wait, yeah, a little bit. She's all wounded, and so they freeze her to keep her from dying.
Yeah.
And Halsey... does the surgery on him, and they end up at, like I said, the asteroid base where the insurrectionists are, and Admiral Whitecomb gets on the horn and talks to Governor Giles, and Governor Giles is like, I got nukes in these asteroids that will detonate and blow you the fuck up. And Whitecomb's like, well, I got these plasma cannons. They're pretty effective.
He's like, Cortana, heat it up.
Yeah. And Giles is like, okay, I guess we can talk now. So he invites them aboard and shows them all this lavish conference room, and he's going on about, yes, our hydroponic, the finest. And Whitecomb is like, I'm gonna have to stop you right there, son. If you don't help me repair this ship, I cannot get your men out of here, because there's going to be a Covenant Armada on our door any moment now. And Duz is like, damn. So he downs his entire glass of wine, and he's like, okay, get to work. And so they immediately start repairing the Ascendant Justice and the Gettysburg as best they can. But at this time, Dr. Halsey's gonna pull a sneaky on him.
Ooh.
Yeah. Kelly is gonna be put under for surgery, and while she's under, she puts Kelly on a gurney and goes for a stroll, and she finds Corporal Locklear and gives him the crystal, and she's like, don't let there be another battle in subspace, because we won't survive, and don't let the Covenant get it either. So he is like, okay, and he's just like, damn, girl, talking about...
she low-key knew that he was going to destroy it.
Yeah.
I think, but she handed it to him.
That's why she gave it to him.
Yeah.
And so she gives it to him, and he is all depressed because all his ODSTs, like his brothers, are dead. And then Pulaski, who they had some romance, she died too.
Yeah.
So he just like, I don't know if he thought he would die from this or not, because he dives away from it.
Why would he not just leave the room? I don't understand that. Like
he
could have set the trigger for like a longer amount of time.
He puts a bunch of C12, which is like future foam explosive. Like he sprays this thing down and sticks the detonator in. He clicks it, and then he like jumps away from it like it's an action movie. But he don't jump away far enough. Anyway. Yeah, I really wonder if he really meant to do that.
It's like that Giants player that like lost several fingers when he was playing with fireworks.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah.
He still plays though.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, R.I.P. Locklear.
Yeah.
So now, also at this point, they uncover that because they wanted to get Johnson checked out because he was able to survive the flood, and they find out that he has something called Boren syndrome, which is said to be a disease from radiation from Covenant plasma weapons that scrambles the nervous system. And if they turn this information in to Oni, they're going to dissect Sergeant Johnson to find a cure. But that'll save a bunch.
Halsey gives Chief the option of like, do you want to give them everything, or do you want to give them everything but the incriminating evidence?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll leave that decision to you.
Yeah, and Boren syndrome is actually just a BS disease.
You're lying.
No, I'm not.
You're lying.
This is in the lore, Riley.
No, I don't think so.
It is.
I don't think so. I don't think it's official.
It is, though.
No.
It is.
No.
Johnson is a Spartan 1.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
This is canon.
Mm-mm.
Yes, it is. How else do you think he does all this badass shit?
He's pulling this from the Halo graphic novel.
No, that is it's from the wiki. It's in Contact Harvest. It goes into Johnson being a part of Project Orion, which is the Spartan 1 program.
Why wasn't that reference then? That wasn't.
I don't know. It's just on the wiki. I don't know their sources. But I mean, Halo Wiki is supposed to be accurate, so.
It's supposed to be.
I'll look up the other one later. There's several. But anyway, it's supposedly just a cover up the fact that Spartan nervous systems are all wanky.
Yeah. But at this point, the Covenant shows up, right? And
why Admiral Wycombe is
like, all right, we gotta make a move here, and he like drifts the ship out and takes a shot at one of them. And I think this is when he rams into a piece of a ship or something.
Yeah, because what happens is only one ship shows up, and then after he destroys it, he's like, okay, there's going to be a lot more. And they get some last minute repairs, I think, but then a whole bunch more show up, and he's like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be able to handle this. And he wishes that he was the guy in command of the Alamo and that he could die with these people, but he can't. And he's like, I'm still going to hell for this. Cortana, prep
get us out of here.
Drive, get us out of here.
Yeah.
So he has to live with all these lives being lost. So, and while all this happened, like a little bit before, Halsey stole Governor Giles' personal like pleasure yacht, which is a really old Oni Prowler.
Yeah.
So she takes Kelly and goes off with this, and Governor Giles is just like, shit, my boat.
My boat. But they're like, so the Ascendant Justice Gettysburg is making its way to Earth, really. That's their plan, so to get this thing back to Earth. And Chief is like, hold on, Admiral. I have a cool mission for us. He's like, we're going to rendezvous at their rendezvous point.
Yeah, actually, I think they know at this point that the Covenant have amassed a fleet bigger than the one they sent to Reach, and it's going to go for Earth.
Yeah.
And they're going to wipe out Earth unless we commence a first strike.
Yeah.
Insert title. Roll credits.
But Chief's like, hey, we can do this. And he's like, absolutely not. Like, dead face.
Yeah.
He's like, but wait, sir.
He's like, I didn't expect to get denied this way.
I wasn't expecting that either. But he explains it, and he's like, there's so many of them, and what good is it going to do to get back to Earth if we're all just going to die anyway? There's no way they can repel that many ships.
Yeah.
And he's like, you wouldn't even have to leave. You could just go on your way to Earth. We'll get in a dropship, and we'll just, get out of the slip space and go ourselves. Just me and the Spartans. And he's like, okay. And he's like, but you can't do that because we need Cortana to get home. And she has all of that information from the Halo ring that she stole. And she can't, safely copy it onto anything else. So, they need Cortana to be able to infiltrate the base. And Lieutenant volunteers, and he's like, I could do it. I've been trained. And they're like, Cortana's like, you would not survive the slip space jump. In a drop.
Unfortunately. Haverson has some balls, though.
Yeah, he does. They come up with a solution to make a copy of Cortana, so they can take Cortana but not take Cortana.
Yeah, earlier in the book, they discovered there was a Covenant AI in the system of the Ascended Justice. Yeah. But it was kind of... the Covenant is imitative, not innovative, so they've been kind of researching and playing around with AI. They're nowhere near as good as the kind that humans have. So once Cortana pins it down, she deletes it, but she discovers an interesting subroutine that it can make copies of itself in order to do things. So that's what she does. She makes a copy of herself and sends it with Keith, so they will be able to have technical support.
Yeah. So they get in the dropship, which had already welded a bunch of beams into it, steel beams,
lead and stuff.
To reinforce it so it survives the jump, and they all buckle in, and they're going on the roughest ride of their lives through slip.
Yeah, even rougher than the Pelican ride to Reach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they make the jump and they make it, right? But their ship is all battered to pieces, like it can't fly or do anything. So they call in to the Covenant. They're like, hey, we need to be towed in for repairs. So they get them, take them in to exactly where they need to be, the middle of the whole thing.
This is usually the Covenant use solid tactics. This is the only time they start going over into Galactic Empire from Star Wars levels of complacency.
Hey, here's this button that says detonate.
Yeah. So they get aboard this. Okay, so let's go ahead and just describe this. The Covenant rendezvous point is this humongous station. It's like 30 kilometers long, and the description Sergeant Johnson gives it is very apt. He says it looks like two squids kissing. And it's called the Unyielding Hierophant. And he says, I don't know what an unyielding elephant is. But yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. It's these two big spherical balls, and they're connected with like this thin section, and there's these curved things that look like squid tentacles that kind of go connecting them too. But it's huge, and that's not all. There's like 500 Covenant ships there, including like some super carriers, which are also really big. So
yeah. So they make it into the base, and they're on their first strike mission.
Yes.
They're gonna just blow up the whole thing, right?
Yep.
And they make it inside, and they go no comms because they don't want to chance them, overhearing them. And meanwhile, Cortana is jamming the comms and the Covenant base so that they're not like, hey, we got an intruder, or something.
Yep. I think there's a reactor leak on the detention level.
Yeah. But, like, they get to this point where there's this, like, several
it's a huge city.
Thick, yeah, but there's this several meter thick glass, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you can't get through it. But, like, she routes them around it, and
yeah, they have to go through maintenance tunnels, which are usually what engineers use, and Spartans
really
are
tiny,
Spartans are so big that they have to deactivate their shields because that little layer of energy, it makes them too tight to fit, and there's like sparks going off their armor from scraping.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in these tunnels for hours, and it's all cramped. They're probably gonna be really sore in the morning.
Yeah. So, how big is the team? Is it 4 of them? I think. No, 5. There's 5.
5, yes.
So you've got Chief, Fred, Will.
Yes.
Grace and Linda.
Yes.
And Linda is like, permission to, climb up there and snipe for you, cover you, sir. And he's like, do it. So she goes up there.
So she gives the Spartan smile signal and takes off.
And she's really awesome.
Yes. They have to cross this open city that's a whole bunch of terraces.
Like this part,
and it's we see a Covenant city for the first time. It has like cobblestone streets, and there's like different levels to it, like streets are narrow and whatnot.
It's like a 300-meter run, I think, out in the open or something. And Chief just hightails it. There's gravel flying in the air. And I think he rifle butts an elite in the face.
Yeah.
On his way. And they make their way to some temple, right? And it's got like stained glass and everything. It's like just like a Catholic church, pretty much.
Yeah.
They get in there, and it's really freezing cold. Like, if they didn't have their suits on, they might die.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's really cold.
And Covenant religion is some top-tier stuff.
I know, right? It's got to be really cold in here.
Yep.
But they get in there, and they're, like, hiding behind the various pillars and stuff. And they hear something go by, and, like, he looks, and he just sees a blur,
Yeah.
And he's like, he describes it as faster than an elite, and bigger.
Yeah, too, this is like, when I first read this, I was like, Dragon Ball?
I had no idea what they were describing. I was trying to think of the different things. I was like, what is this? And the thing tackles Chief, grabs him by the throat. It's a brute, by the way.
Yeah.
And Chief's about to black out. Well, he does that cool MMA move and gets out of it. Right? Gets behind him, shoves his elbow on his neck or something, and tries to break his arm. But, like, he's pulling it back farther than a human arm would go.
And it ain't stopping
it. It doesn't break. But I think he pulls out a grenade, tosses it under him, and breaks his base so he's laying flat. And he blows up. And he's dead. Meanwhile, while that was happening, Chief heard several explosions, and that was actually when Grace died.
So
he keys in.
Like, they opened up with brute shots, which are these grenade launchers.
Yeah.
Part grenade launcher, part wicked blade thing. It's like a knife and a rifle. I call it a knifle.
It kind of looks like a hermit crab shell.
A bit.
But Chief, keys in the destruct sequence, and the three guys go out of the temple and make their way to the core, and so they get there. There's not really any security there, which blows my mind.
Yeah,
there's like no security. Cortana hacks it really easily. They set a countdown. And she's like, it'll blow up in 10 minutes. So when do you want me to start it? And they all look at each other and they're like,
that was good.
Give up the nod. Chief's like, do it
and
now.
This copy of Cortana has been copying herself to combat all these other Covenant AIs in the system. So she is starting to show rampancy. This copy is just because she's not meant to last longer than this mission.
It's hard to even talk to her because she has to like create another self just to have a conversation.
Yeah, which is when read these books and understand smart AI with how many stuff they can do. You really see that in Fall of Reach when it switches paths from Captain Keyes getting a tour of the Pillar of Autumn to Cortana doing the same thing. Like she does all these hacks and stuff while he's doing this, and you see all that's happening between them having a conversation the last 5 seconds.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So they set the timer. They start to get out of there, right? And here come 3 banshees and flying at them. And he's like, "All right, guys, we're gonna have to get those banshees."
Yeah.
So, I think he somehow communicates with Linda. He risks it because he needs her, and she's like, she snipes all 3 of the banshees. So
in the span of just a couple seconds.
Yeah, and it was crazy because the banshees were doing all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she times it just right, and it's 3 shots, and she only kills the drivers. She doesn't hit the banshees.
She hits the tiniest little opening in the hatch.
Yes.
Between them and the flyers.
If you know what a banshee looks like, you'll know like how hard that really is.
Yeah.
But
the
Chief's
part
looking
is where
for
she is though, because I think when
they find
he doesn't
her,
see her yet.
They find her and she's like, she's not even standing on anything. He's like, is she using shadows or is she using the light of that big thing right there to hide herself? Probably that, because that's really clever and stuff. And the thing is, she did both.
Yeah.
She was at that light, but also way back in a shadow. And she was hanging by a rope, which she had tied around her foot. And was standing there like this, holding a sniper rifle with one arm and making these shots. And I'm like, what?
I've referenced this several times in us just seeing Linda and stuff. I'm like, dude, when we get to first strike, you're going to be blown away.
It's ridiculous. But Chief flies and picks her up. And I don't know how you fit 2 people in a banshee, but they did it. Right?
They cuddled.
Yeah. She was like on his back and stuff.
Yeah.
But they get to that big piece of glass we were talking about, and they're like hitting it with all the plasma and stuff, and it's just cracking kind of. And Chief's like, Cortana, depressurize the bay, and she does, and it eventually breaks because of the depressurization is pulling the glass apart. And they get out there, and what happened? Didn't they get back to the same drop ship?
I think so. They got to some type of craft, and they go to get off, and they get picked up by the Gettysburg. It's been separated from the Ascendant Justice.
They were supposed to go back home to Earth,
yeah,
but they didn't know they were there. They thought it was a suicide mission.
And so they get aboard the Ascendant Justice, and only Johnson is there. They're like, where's the Admiral and Haverson? And he's like, take a look. And on the screen, they see the Ascendant Justice like ram into the station. And this is right before it's about to go. And Whitecom gets on the comms, and he calls out and calls the entire Covenant Armada a bunch of pussies. And then he has a hologram of the crystal. They were out, that's been destroyed, but they don't know that. So they all converge on the station and try and get as close as possible because every elite shipmaster wants to kill this man.
Yeah.
And you see him and Haverson, they whip out some SMGs and they start blasting away at these elites that are busting in, and they get swarmed But Whitecom dies with a smile on his face because then the station goes and wipes out 500 Covenant ships in the blink of an eye, giving Whitecom and Master Chief the highest kill count. I think Whitecom gets the highest kill count because of what happens in Ghost of Onyx, but they wipe out a lot of Covenant, and pretty much this is going to save Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Nylund's books just have those types of moments. Because remember, he wrote the short story about Admiral Cole, and he had kind of a similar moment in his last battle, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all the stuff Keyes does.
Yeah.
But so Operation First Strike, a resounding success.
Yes, it was.
Able to go back to Earth now, and they're able to go back with the Gettysburg without violating Cole Protocol. They have all this data from Halo and from the Covenant networks. Like Cortana was able to get everything on their technology and whatnot while she was in the systems.
When they get back, I think the Covenant has taken the fight to Earth, right?
Not yet. I think they get back just before the beginning of Halo 2.
Well, I mean, like, at the very back end, like, when they're doing that interview and stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's after. Okay. Master Chief has been to the Cairo, because he's going to be present for that awards ceremony with Johnson.
Yeah.
Well, while that's happening, this is just a little, like, short thing in the back. These definitive editions have those. Mm-hmm. And this is an interview from an Oni psychologist with Fred, and she wants to psychoanalyze him because a lot of Spartans died under Fred's command at Reach, but there's really nothing he could have done differently. Like, the main thing she's asking is his order to tell them to jump. She also brings up him having a comms malfunction. Like, while they're in the Pelican, he says brace yourselves, and Kelly's like, we'll get the comm malfunction fixed when we land, Chief. And he's just like, oh shit, I just spammed every ship in range. Yeah. And he's like, that's kind of making me look jittery. I can't do that. Like, I have to be the leader here.
Basically what the Doctor is doing is trying to make Fred look bad. Like, all the stress is getting to him and stuff, and like how dangerous would a Spartan be if they were under so much stress and they could hurt somebody or get people killed and stuff.
And she's really getting to him.
But then Admiral Hood breaks in there, and he's like, "What is this? Who authorized this?"
Yeah, he's like, "What the hell are you doing with one of my Spartans? Do you understand? There's a war going on."
Grab the Doctor and get her out of the room.
Yeah, like he arrests.
He's like, "Are you ready to fight for Earth, son?" And he's like, "Eager, sir."
Yeah, because with the interview, like, she's like, "How could you describe your feelings?" "Oh, I was eager." And she's like, "Why were you eager?" And then he's like, "Are you ready to fight?" Because while this is happening, the Covenant have literally arrived at Earth, and the battle is going on.
New Mombasa.
Yeah, we'll see Fred, Will, and Linda in Ghost of Onyx during their time on the Battle of Earth.
Right.
But yeah, Fleet Admiral Hood busts in, and he's like, "Who authorized this? Was it Margaret?" And do you know who Margaret is?
No, I don't know.
She is the commander-in-chief of Oni.
Oh.
She's Admiral Parangoski.
Was it Margaret?
Yeah. She's featured in the UNSC Security Council meetings that we see before this. I also think she's one of the code names. Because, there's some sections where there's like codename surgeon and codename coal miner, communications. She may be one of those. She's in Ghost of Onyx too, but she's mainly featured in the Kilo 5 trilogy I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
And she's older than Admiral Hood. Like, she's a really old lady, but she is completely vicious and just will not take any prisoners. Like, she is probably, other than Hood, she's the most powerful person in UNSC space, just with the reach she has with Oni. But yeah, he's just like, Who authorized this? Margaret. And Dr. Clayton's like, Admiral, that is none of your... You do not have jurisdiction over Beta 5 protocol. I was sent here to it. He's like, my jurisdiction is the entire planet. We're fighting a war down there, and if anyone thinks that keeping one of our best up here for a Q&A session is going to win it, then tell them to take it up with me. Then to the MP escort. Gentlemen, please escort the lady to her ship. So they pretty much drag her out, like you said. Yep. Gotta love it when Admiral Hood shows that he's the only realist room. He's like, cut all the political bullshit. We're fighting a war.
Yeah. But overall, really fun book. Had a lot of good emotion to it. Like it makes you care for these characters. And I think it did a good job of further building off of the Fall of Reach, with the just the Spartan background. Like we got the that when they're 12 and they're doing that training exercise and stuff. You got more of that. So that was really cool, and a lot of cool space battles. And, just some cool stuff. But
yeah.
That's all we got time for today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Join in for Ghost of Onyx.